This is what happened when Aaliyah don't want to screen Caitlin right here. Look at this. Caitlin lands on her knee with Odyssey Sims trailing and grabbing her. Now Caitlin's on the floor grabbing her knee. Thank you, Aaliyah. Thank you so much, Aaliyah.
Taking Clark down.
Look at this. AB didn't screen. So now Odyssey Sims is on. This is what Draymond Green was trying to tell you, Waffle House. This is exactly what Draymond Green.
Caitlin Clark is on the ground again, grabbing her knee, and the broadcast just told 15 million people watching at home that the other player lost her balance. She didn't lose her balance. Anyone with two working eyes can watch that replay and see exactly what happened. That was not a stumble. That was not an accident. That was a defender who ran directly into Clark's lower body at full speed, wrapped up, and tried to take her legs out from under her. And the referees standing right there watching it happen decided the smartest move was to do absolutely nothing.
They came after Caitlin tonight. She gets flat mugged right here. Flat mugged. Hey, what are we doing? I mean, yikes. She couldn't get a foul call if her life depended on it. Not tonight, anyway. Not tonight. And then Odyssey Sims, I mean, for real, tackles Caitlin Clark. There's no confusion. She tackled her like it's the National Football League. And look, I like Odyssey Sims. She came through last year for the Fever. But this
is the Indiana Fever taking on the Dallas Wings. And by the time the night was over, Caitlin Clark had been shoved, grabbed, held, and knocked to the floor more times than anyone bothered to count on the stat sheet. But two moments in particular are the ones nobody can stop talking about this morning. First, a play where Clark ends up holding her knee in visible pain after a defender goes low into her legs in a way that has nothing to do with playing the ball.
Clark and Beckers. And some intensity growing here as Clark taking it.
And second, Paige Beckers wrapping up Clark's arm late in the second quarter, refusing to let go, basically daring the officials to make a call while the clock winds down. Two completely different moments. Same result both times. The whistle stayed in the pocket way longer than it should have, and by the time it finally came out, the damage was already done.
Aaliyah Boston is trash. She does not set screens. You got people tackling Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston, big, soft, sorry ass, don't do nothing. She's a big, soft, sorry piece of if you ask me out there. Aaliyah Boston is ass. $6 million of ass juice out there. She ain't did nothing. Got dominated by Jessica Shepard. Aaliyah Boston, get your sorry ass in the trash too. Go on. Get your sorry ass in the trash. You suck. You the most overrated, overpaid big. For $6 million, you need to be playing like Asia.
Let's start with the knee, because this is the play that should be getting more attention than it is. Clark is working off the ball, trying to get into a passing lane, and a Wings defender closes the gap on her at a speed that has no business being that close to a standing player's legs. The contact lands low, right around the knee, and Clark goes down immediately. Both hands on the joint, face twisted up in a way that tells you this wasn't a dramatic sell job. You don't grab your own knee like that unless something actually hurt. The defender, meanwhile, stumbles a step or two afterward and throws her arms out like she's the one who got caught off guard by the whole thing, which is exactly the kind of small performative detail that makes the whole play look even more deliberate on a second and third viewing.
Boston electing to not screen. Look at this. Like, look at it. What time? You're screening Caitlin! Oh my gosh! She's screening Caitlin instead of Odyssey. Oh my gosh! How do you screen Caitlin? Oh my gosh! She's screening her own teammate instead of screening Odyssey Sims. How do you screen Caitlin? It got to the point where she's hurting Caitlin. She's the reason Caitlin probably fell. Let me watch this. Look at this. AB didn't screen. Odyssey Sims just literally fell into Caitlin Clark. How do you screen Caitlin? Oh my god.
Here's the problem with calling that a loss of balance. If you watch the footwork before contact, the defender isn't reacting to Clark's movement, she's closing in on it. She squares up, drops her hip angle, and drives directly into Clark's standing leg the exact same way a defensive back tries to chop down a running back before he can plant and cut. That's not incidental. That's not a player simply failing to stop in time. That's a body positioned specifically to get underneath Clark and take her down. And the fact that the broadcast crew called it losing her balance in real time tells you something about how quickly people are willing to explain away contact on this particular player, instead of just calling it what it clearly is. If a defender wanted to simply contest the passing lane, there are a dozen ways to do that without ever getting near the knee. This wasn't one of those ways.
Bro, how much is too much when you're guarding Caitlin Clark? First, Paige grabs her arm, the whistle comes late, Clark gets pissed, and Paige basically tells her, calm down. Then later, Odyssey Sims takes Clark down, and she lands knee first on the floor. Nah, man. Dallas was physical all night. Indiana loses 91-85, and Clark walks out frustrated. Call it tough defense if you want, but if this is normal, what the hell actually counts as...
And here's the part that should actually make people angry. Not just the play itself, but what happened after it. No whistle, not late, not delayed, just nothing. Clark is on the floor holding her knee. The trainer eventually jogs out to check on her, and the referees standing within 10 feet of the whole thing act like they watched a completely different possession. This is a two-time MVP, the single biggest reason a huge chunk of that arena bought tickets in the first place, lying on the hardwood in visible pain, and the response from the 3 people paid to officiate that exact situation is silence. No free throws, no flagrant review, not even a common foul to acknowledge that contact happened at all. The game just restarts like nothing occurred, and the only proof anyone gets that something actually went wrong is Clark limping through the next several possessions.
Oh, there's a moving screen. She's moving all over the place. Hits her with the shoulder, like always. Look at this. Fouls her, holding her, and fouls the crap out of her. No foul. Look at this. She got fouled the whole game. They didn't call this a foul. Look at this one. Like, her body's all over her. How is that not a foul? Look at this one. Cardosa swipes her once, twice, just tries to grab her. Can you imagine being fouled the entire game? Every time you hit half court, every time you dribble, every time you drive. Look at this. Sheldon clearly has her hand on Caitlin Clark's shoulder when she's shooting it. They even showed a replay. It's exactly...
Compare that to how quickly whistles come out when Clark is the one making contact. Earlier in this very series between these two teams, Clark barely bumps into a defender setting up a screen and gets an offensive foul called almost instantly. No hesitation, no discussion, no letting the play develop to see if it actually affects anything. That's the disconnect fans keep pointing out game after game. When Clark initiates even the lightest contact, it's a foul before she's finished the motion. When something significantly more physical happens to her, the whistle suddenly needs an extended review of the situation, or it just never comes at all. It's the same 3 officials working the same 40 minutes of basketball, somehow applying 2 entirely different standards depending on which jersey is doing the shoving.
And herself got called a technical foul because she accidentally ran into a ref. And as you will see from the clip, it was not intentional in the least. Her reaction to getting the whistle is just like all of us. It was so utterly unfair. Watch this.
So clearly it was a foul, was not called.
Oh, she didn't even say anything.
Oh my God. I mean, just insane. And they were going to actually kick her out. And then they finally reversed that ruling. But like, this is crazy how the refs are acting. It's an absolute...
This isn't the first time this exact pattern has shown up either. A few weeks back, Clark picked up a technical foul for making contact with an official while she was simply following through on a play, a body in motion with nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, other players around the league have made similar or rougher contact with officials in the middle of live action and walked away with nothing more than a shrug. Fans noticed it instantly, and it fed right into the same argument that's been building all season. The standard for what counts as a foul against Clark and what counts as a foul on her seem to be 2 completely different rulebooks, and nobody in the league office has ever offered a real explanation for why that gap keeps showing up night after night.
Now, what was that? Paige having the audacity to push Caitlin Clark, then putting her hand out and telling Caitlin Clark to calm down.
Some intensity growing here as Clark taking exception to the bump. You see Becker is grabbing the arm of Clark and Clark flailing the arm.
This is just another example of how girls are getting smoked by Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. The numbers do not lie all across the board. Caitlin is not having her best night tonight, but we still have another half to go. And I will be the first to admit that I think Paige is a baller. The way that she can see the whole court, the way that she can pull up from anywhere on the court. But this was so shicey. There's always been rumors that Paige was kind of jealous of Caitlin Clark, and she admitted it herself that she was jealous for what's happening with Caitlin Clark. She said that in an interview recently, but I feel like you did not need to put your arm out like that. That is so salty. Both players are built for big moments, but that did not need to happen on the court tonight.
Now to the second moment, the one everyone is going to be talking about tomorrow. Less than 10 seconds left in the second quarter. Clark has the ball, the Wings have a foul to give, and Paige Beckers steps in to use it. Except using a foul to give doesn't mean grabbing someone's entire arm and refusing to let go while the clock ticks down. Beckers wraps up Clark's left arm, holds on, and Clark visibly tries to shake free, clearly frustrated that she's being restrained instead of simply fouled and released. The referee lets several full seconds play out before finally blowing the whistle, and by then Clark has already fired the ball down the court in frustration, sending it sailing uncomfortably close to Beckers on her way toward the tunnel.
Paige grabbing her, no foul called, grabs her again. Caitlin Clark said, yeah, dude, I mean, she's touched me enough times right now. I mean, she's gotten her hands on me a little bit too much right now. Here we go. We have Paige grabbing Caitlin Clark, literally grabbing her arm, and we're not calling a foul. I don't understand what that is. This is one of the times where Caitlin Clark got mauled. Look at this. Grabbing her arm. Like Caitlin Clark's trying to run away, and Paige Beckers is reaching out saying, no, come here. I want to go this way. Like they're both going shopping at the store. And Caitlin Clark's like, no, I'm not going in that store. And Paige's like, no, come in the store. Yeah. It was wild. Absolutely wild. Goes and grabs Caitlin Clark again. And then foul. I mean, that second time looked like she was just trying to foul at that point. That looked like an intentional.
Watch it back and pay attention to the actual mechanics of the hold, not just the outcome. A foul to give is supposed to be quick. A bump, a wrap, a whistle, done. This isn't quick. Beckers holds on well past the point where any official should need to see more information to make the call. She's not trying to stop a shot attempt or a pass. The 10-second mark has basically already run out. She's just physically preventing Clark from being able to do anything with her body, while everyone waits for a whistle that takes its time arriving. And in the middle of that hold, cameras caught Beckers mouthing something toward Clark that has been widely read online as some version of telling her to calm down, right in the moment where Clark is the one being held against her will. Slow it down frame by frame, and it's not subtle. Her lips move, her expression is calm, almost dismissive, while Clark is still actively trying to pull her arm free.
Paige and Caitlin thing I think is interesting because I believe them to be friends. They've said it before, or at least friendly. But they're good, they compete against each other. They're competitors. When you're on the court, it's different. Paige is clearly trying to take a foul here so that Clark doesn't get like some shot off. But she grabs her arm. She's clearly trying to take it. It doesn't get called. And at this point, she's just mad. I don't think Caitlin has anything. She's not mad at Paige. She's mad at the ref for not calling the obvious. She grabbed my arm. Paige says, calm down. But listen, you yanked my arm. They didn't call it. Call the foul. And then she's still like, at that point, she's like, listen, she's mucking me at this point. You got to call the foul. This is going to end up being something. I don't
think about how strange that actually is when you slow down and really sit with it. Beckers is the one holding on. Beckers is the one extending the contact well past what the situation requires. And yet the message being sent in that moment is directed at Clark, the player being restrained, as if she's the one who needs to settle down and behave. That's the same loop that's followed Clark all season long. She gets hit, held, or fouled hard. She reacts to it even mildly. And somehow the story becomes about her reaction instead of whatever caused it in the first place. It happened with the referee contact earlier this season. It happened with the knee collision just a few minutes into this same broadcast. And now it's happening again with a grabbed arm at the end of the first half.
WNBA refs are some of the worst. They're the worst refs of refdom of any of the refs that exist. They are so continuously, perpetually, just terrible across the board. All of them. I don't give a
Let's expose last night's game. Like, this was called a foul. After reviewing it, one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. Look at this one. Instead of looking at her getting hit in the face, Caitlin Clark gets hit in the face. They look at a leg slightly moving a screen. Like, this is what Caitlin Clark deals with. Those are reach and fouls, arms across her whole body. She's getting hit twice, once in the throat, no foul called. So she could get hit, she could get assaulted, but they only call fouls if it's on her for not.
The referees clearly knew they had a problem on their hands because the delay in making that call wasn't small. A foul to give, by design, is supposed to be assessed almost instantly so the clock situation is clear for both benches. Instead, this one drags out long enough that Clark has already reacted, the ball has already been thrown, and both teams are already walking toward their locker rooms by the time the whistle actually confirms what everyone in the building had already figured out for themselves 3 seconds earlier. That's not good officiating. That's officials who were, at best, asleep on a play that mattered. Or at worst, in the third quarter, Beckers herself picked up a technical foul for arguing with an official after a separate call went against her on a foul involving Clark. So Crew lost control of the pace and the physicality, and Clark ended up absorbing the worst of it before anyone in stripes decided to actually manage it. When both benches, both coaching staffs, and the entire arena are visibly frustrated with the same 3 officials by the middle of the third quarter, that's not a subtle signal. That's a Crew that lost the plot early and never really got it back.
Yeah, she intentionally seeked out the official.
Did that you backwards to them? Did you know they were there in that moment?
And through the forearm. That too.
Did you know they were there?
No. It's really bad.
A different explanation in video?
No, that's what I was told. That's what I was told. Yeah. My tech was for saying that, even though I heard the F-bomb the whole game. My tech was for saying that, like, that's a bad call. That's a bad call. Incidental contact when you're flying out of control, like on it. And I thought her teammates should have come up and talked to her about that as well. Like, I think that's really bad. That happens all the time in the game. Officials have to have some awareness in those moments, and it didn't happen. Yes.
I just hope the league makes the right decision.
Stephanie White has been here before, defending her star point guard after nights like this, and you can feel the fatigue in how these situations keep repeating themselves. It's not that hard fouls don't happen in the WNBA. They happen constantly. This is a physical league, and nobody watching expects Clark to get a whistle every single time someone bumps into her. The issue is the inconsistency. The issue is a knee-level collision going completely uncalled in real time, while a phantom offensive foul on a routine screen gets whistled instantly 2 possessions later. Fans aren't asking for special treatment. They're asking for the same standard to apply in both directions, and right now it clearly isn't. White has said versions of this after other games too. Always careful with her words, always framing it as a general concern about consistency rather than a direct accusation. But the pattern keeps giving her more and more reasons to bring it up.
Caitlin Clark's agent, Aaron Kane, said Caitlin will never be paid what she's worth by the WNBA because it is quite literally impossible for them to pay her what she's worth. An economist at Indiana University Columbus calculated that Caitlin Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis, and that she is responsible for 27% of the entire WNBA's economic activity for this past season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. One player in a big league responsible for 27% of the economic impact and economic activity for the WNBA. You can argue this intelligently. No one person means as much to their league, whatever league it is, as Caitlin Clark means to the WNBA. And no person has done more for their league than what Caitlin Clark.
There's also a bigger financial and competitive picture here that the league seems to keep ignoring. Clark is, by a significant margin, the single biggest reason television ratings and attendance numbers have exploded across this entire season. Every arena she plays in sells out or comes close to it. Every network wants her games on their schedule. And every time she goes down clutching a knee with no whistle, or gets held by both arms with no immediate call, that's a genuine risk to the health of the exact player driving all of that attention. If the league actually cares about protecting its biggest asset, The officiating in these specific matchups needs to stop lagging several steps behind what everyone watching at home can already see clearly on the very first replay. It shouldn't take a viral clip and a wave of angry comments for the league to even acknowledge that a play like the knee collision happened.
I don't know who didn't get a foul call. Stephanie White lost her shit today. She literally was jumping up and down, and I was like, man, that's the first time I've seen Stephanie White show her ass like that all year. But she lost her ever-loving mind. This was a...
Zoom out for a second and look at the full arc of this one single game. A missed call on a knee-level collision that any casual fan could identify as dangerous within seconds of seeing the replay. A restrained arm hold that the whistle needed several extra seconds to catch up to, well after the damage to Clark's composure had already been done. And a technical foul on the exact same opposing player just 1 quarter later, essentially confirming that the frustration boiling over on the floor wasn't imagined. It was earned overwhelmed by how fast and physical every single one of Clark's matchups has become, night after night, city after city, arena after arena, each one packed to capacity specifically because of her. But intent aside, the result on the floor is identical every time. She gets hit harder than almost anyone else in the league, the whistle shows up late or not at all, and then the story of the night somehow becomes about her reaction instead of the contact that caused it. Until that changes, these exact same clips are going to keep going viral for exactly the same reasons. Fans are going to keep screenshotting the same broadcast quotes calling obvious contact a loss of balance, and the same question is going to keep getting asked without a straight answer from anyone in the league office. How many more of these does it take before somebody actually does something about it?